Hey friends, something I've been thinking about recently is one's job description, how you think about your own job and how you tell other people what you do. I've made my own job over the past 4 years and I love it. I love my job. I love my job, and I love the freedom that I have to define it and to decide what I do and what I don't do. But typically, if you work at quote normal job, you will have something like a job description where it's like, these are your responsibilities, this is the role, this is what you do, this is what you should already be good at, this is what you will be responsible for, this is how this fits into the larger company or project or whatever it is. And that's helpful. That's really helpful to have a clear sense of what you do, both for yourself and also to interface with the organization. It's like, I am the bookkeeper, or, I am the project manager, or I am the fundraiser, or whatever it is. Yes, that's my role. That works really well for existing organizations. That works really well for existing job titles where it's like, yeah, you are the fundraiser for this nonprofit. That's a very clearly defined role where you have very clear responsibilities. Of course, the circumstances, the strategies, the tactics, the themes that you'll use and connect to are going to be different for a different job, for one fundraiser, for another, but it's sort of well understood, right? That's what a fundraiser does. This is what a cancer researcher does. This is what a third grade teacher does. Different in different places, of course, but there's some clear sense, yes, this is what this job is. I have not had that luxury. I have been clear since as early as June of 2021, just before I started my pilgrimage, like, there's kind of a thing that I'm doing. I seem to be doing something here, but what is it exactly? And as I've talked about before, it took me something like 8-9 months, a year to figure out, love, curiosity, and empowerment. That's what I'm doing. Those are the themes that I'm working on. And then that was the genesis of the Service Guild, where I was like, yeah, we should be coordinating around these themes. We should be building a crew around these themes. We should build an organization around these themes. We should have processes and values and goals and projects and, a larger vision for what we're doing and how we work together, a sense of how we work together. And I had to kind of come up with that for myself. I had to, there's this word LARP, like live action role play. I had to improvise. I had to make it up as I go. But there was also a there. It's like, no, I'm doing this, not that. I'm definitely not doing that. That's not the thing I'm doing. Sometimes it's helpful to define what you're doing through negation by saying, oh yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not starting a nonprofit, for example. Maybe the Service Guild would become a nonprofit at some point. That's a possible future. But for now, we're not aiming to be a nonprofit. That's not our goal. We're a crew. And then I can say what I mean by that. So with respect to one's own individual work, one's own individual job, career, even I would say vocation, or of course the word that I love, vow, you have liberty to define this for yourself, especially if you're sort of what we might call a feral free agent. This phrase, I think that comes from Venkatesh Rao. But in any case, if you're sort of like one of these weirdos that's out here doing your own thing, you can make your own job description. You can say, this is what I do. And it only needs to be intelligible to you. You need to understand what you do. You need to define what you do. You need to know what the responsibilities associated with that are. But if you're out on your own, you don't report to anyone. You don't need someone's permission. You don't need someone else to understand. You don't need someone else to approve. You don't need the world to understand or approve. You can just do it and be like, this is what I do now. And I know what it is, and so I will do it. And then over time, through your actions, through your projects, through the things that you accomplish, you can show the world what you mean by that. Not just tell them, but actually show them, right? So I did that when I tattooed love, curiosity, and empowerment to my body. I said, this is what I do now. And people are like, okay, nice tattoos, Tashin. I'm like, no, I'm going to show you what I mean by this. And my life will demonstrate this. I will show you through my actions. I can talk at length, as I'm doing now in this video, about what I do, but it's most important that I show it through my actions, that my values are in accord with my life, that I act in a way that's consonant with what I understand myself to be, what I understand myself to be trying to do. And this just creates tremendous freedom. There are aspects of my job that I understand intimately as someone who's in charge of the love department or someone who's co-founding these different departments, the love department, the curiosity department, the empowerment department, as the guild master, the person that's responsible for the service guild, as this pilgrim, as this Tashin person, just as a person. There are aspects of what I understand my job to be that I know intimately at this point, and I could describe to you at length, but I don't need to. I just need to be aware of what those are and to do them, to follow through on them, to be consistent and persistent about acting on those. And that itself is doing the job. And there are parts of my job that, I never heard of anybody else doing. I never heard of someone saying, oh yeah, I take responsibility for this. I will act in this way. I will show up in this way. But I do, right? It really doesn't need to be legible to anyone else. And there's been so much freedom for me in this. I love this. I love the phrase, that's my job, right? Oftentimes this phrase is used sarcastically, where people will be like, oh, that's my job. I just have to show up at my 9 to 5 that I hate because it pays the bills and I really don't like it. That's my job. But I mean, no, that's my job. Like, I love doing this, and that's my job, and I'm proud of it. I love doing it, and I'm really good at it, and it's good for the world that I do it. I enjoy it, and it's of benefit. That's my job. I love doing that. I'm the guild master. I'm responsible for being in the love department. I'm responsible for being in the curiosity department. I'm responsible for being in the empowerment department. I have to show up as a member of those departments. I have to embody that with my actions, not just in a meeting for the service guild, but in everything that I do. Can I be loving? Can I be curious? Can I be supportive and empowering to other people in any context, wherever I find myself? Can I be kind? Can I be curious and ask questions? Can I be supportive and encouraging and do concrete things that actually help move people forward in their vow, in their life path? So I get to define what that means and how I show up to it and what that looks like and hold myself to that. Like, yeah, that's the standard. And as I refine my own understanding of what it is that I do, then I can step into that more fully and embody it more fully and be more consistent about it and do it in more contexts on more days and also improve at it to get better and better at it. So I love that. I love that I've crafted my own job. I love that it's been free of the need to be understood by other people, the need to have approval of other people, and also just the free of constraints of a kind of limitation of imagination of what is possible for a job to look like. Like, sometimes, I don't know, for example, I'll be having a conversation and sometimes I'll talk to people for, hours, 3, 4, 6, 8, 11 hours. And I'm like, this is my job. And it's very clear to me why that's the most important thing for me to be doing at that moment. And it might not be clear to someone else. Like, why are you spending hours talking to me? I'm like, no, this is the most important thing I could possibly be doing right now, is having this conversation with you. And I could give a very thorough explanation as to why. I don't need to, because it's my time and I know why that's my job. But something else, like, I don't know, something banal, like right before I made these videos today, I took a shower, and I could tell you why that's part of my job, to take a shower, not just to be clean, but actually to relax my body, right? Relaxation is so key for me doing my work well. And so I need to have many, 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 many ways of relaxing my body, and taking a shower is one of them, because it's warm and comfortable and makes me feel at ease. And then, and then I can talk fluidly like this after this. Whereas if I'm tight, this kind of thing doesn't come through. I don't know, eating is part of my job, or, traveling to different places is part of my job. Being aware, having feet on the ground of what's happening with different parts of the world and different communities and different friends and allies that I'm connected to, staying abreast of different projects and knowing what's happening in the world. That's part of my job. Part of my job is keeping an eye on the world situation at large, and as best as I can, making sense of what's happening, being like, what's happening here? And that's a really hard thing to do, and I don't think I'm very good at it, but I try, and I try to talk to people who are good at it and see what I can learn from them. And part of my job is stewarding the guild and making sure, one aspect of this is making sure that the guild members are flourishing in their life. Are they doing well? Do they have what they need? Are they unblocked on living their own vow in their own life, even removed from the specific projects we're collaborating with? I want them to be flourishing in their life, and I take responsibility for that. That's something that I'm still learning to do, that I'm still learning to get better at it. I don't have to be perfect at it. I'm not getting graded on my job. I'm not at risk of getting fired from my job, but I can say, yeah, I take responsibility for that. I want to be good at this. I want to be good at that. Another thing is correspondence. I've talked a lot recently about messaging, which people have really responded to. In fact, actually, this happened. My friend Daniel Brotman, I made a tweet about inviting people to DM me, to send me direct messages, and inviting my mutuals to send me a message on Twitter. And he was like, how do you have time to do this? Like, he knew from experience it's sort of expensive in terms of time and energy to correspond with people and to send DMs. And he knows that I'm busy doing lots of projects. And I was like, well, correspondence is part of my job. It's part of my job to talk to lots of different people and stay in touch with them and communicate with them and receive their questions and answer them and give them advice or connect the dots or learn from them, ask them questions myself, have it be kind of a two-way exchange where I learn and they learn, we grow together, we support each other, developing those relationships. Part of my job is being friends and allies with as many people and communities as I possibly can, really establishing as many firm connections as I can and deepening those over time, maintaining them, growing them, helping people, being helped by them, staying connected. That's part of my job. Part of my job is defying Dunbar's number, being like 150, those are rookie numbers. Let's do way better than that. How many people can I possibly be deeply connected to? As best I can, knowing that those connections are the conditions for good consequences, knowing that will benefit me, that will benefit them, that will benefit the service guild, that will benefit the world. It's just very clear to me. That's how you play conditions, consequences. That's one specific form of it. That's one specific maneuver, is to be connected to a lot of people and deepen those relationships over time. So those are some things that are part of my job. There are other ones that are more nebulous that I could talk about. But I love that. I love that I take responsibility for these things. I love that I get to define that for myself. I love that I get to hold myself to that and get better at these things. I'll be turning 34 at the end of the month. And it's so clear to me that if I keep doing these things, if I keep doing this job for the rest of my life, the guy that's going to be 50 or 60 or 80 is just going to be, kind of amazing. Like, I'm already impressed by him. Like, wow, he's going to be really good at this stuff because he's been working at it for years and years and years and years and just hasn't stopped. That's a big part of my work, is I just work every day. I wake up and I do the most important thing, the most fun thing, the most alive thing all day long, just all day long. And I get up, I do one thing, and when that's done, I'll move to the next thing that's most fun and most alive, most important. Keep going. And I've done that for, arguably 4 or more years now, and I'm just going to keep doing that. If I slow down, if I need rest, if there's something that's frictionful, then that's just part of the process too, to learn from that, to be like, what needs to be integrated here? What needs to be digested so that I can keep doing this more fully? I have trust in that process and trust in my track record for doing that, so that I feel, reasonably confident that if I'm still alive and healthy, that in 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, however long I'm blessed to have a healthy, able body, that I'll be doing this in one form or another to the best of my ability. So that's about making your own job description. I talk about my experience in hopes that it inspires you and that you can reflect on who you want to be in this world, what your vocation is. That's really what this is. What is your vocation or your vow? And what does that mean to you? What is the job description for that on your own terms, not someone else's terms, not something that needs to be legible to a company or an organization or the world as a whole or your family, but just like, what do I want to do? What am I here to do? What am I here to get good at? What's part of my job, and how do I do that? How do I get good at that? You get to decide that, really, because it's your life. Like, even if you are working a 9-to-5 in a traditional job, you can still say, oh, this is actually my vocation. This is actually my vow. And right now, working this traditional job is how I'm doing that. That's part of the picture. It doesn't need to be all of the picture even, but this is a step along the way. This is what I'm doing now. This is how this fits into that. But you get to define and make sense of what your vocation, what your vow is, and how you relate to that. Yeah. So be curious to hear what you think about this. Feel free to leave a comment, and would love to hear from you.